learn all the breaking reports currently involving Raheem Sterling, as right now we are in advanced talks to sign the player. We have big news that dropped this morning as Petr Cech today leaves as our technical advisor. What does this mean? Where do we go from here? And of course, you guys, we have big updates on Petr Cech, as it does seem very likely now that the club are extremely confident they will get their man signed in this window. Ton of things to break down and discuss. It's been a mad day for news. More videos will be dropping today, you guys, so make sure you have those bell notification buttons on. Hit that like button. Help me get 2,500 likes for today's video. And of course, share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section too. Without wasting any more time, so let's kick things off. Let's discuss the breaking report that released earlier this morning involving the departure of Petr Cech. As he said in his departure statement on the club's official website, it has been a huge privilege to perform this role at Chelsea for the past 3 years. With the club under new ownership, I feel now is the right time for me to step aside. I am pleased that the club is now in an excellent position with the new owners, and I am confident of its future success both on and off the pitch. Of course, classy statement as always, and this was very typical and was bound to happen. Now, Petr Cech follows alongside previous figures like Werner, Rongole, Bruce Buck, as, you know, existing members of the previous board now who were naturally all going to get replaced, as we can't forget that Todd Boehly bought the club with a consortium existing of a lot of experts in their respective fields who are naturally going to take over from the existing boards. With the news that broke that Todd Boehly wants to bring in a sporting director, with two names currently being Michael Edwards and Paul Mitchell as well too, essentially you're kind of spelling the end for Petr Cech, who wasn't necessarily our sporting director, but kind of had like a, I don't want to say fake role because that's very cynical, but he had a very specialized role in the previous existing structures at the club, which naturally isn't really going to complement the new things that Todd Boehly wants to bring in and do. Now, we've got more context behind Petr Cech's departure. We know that with the existing structures of the board, some of these guys are still at the club to help us, during the window to get deals over the line. And Todd Boehly did ask Petr Cech to maybe remain with us until the window was over to help sign players. But I guess Petr Cech's thinking was essentially this: listen, if I have no future at the club, as myself, who won't be looked at as someone to potentially become a new sporting director, it only makes sense for me to leave the club right now and keep things moving, which is exactly what he's done. Currently, we know that Todd Boehly is our interim sporting director at this point in time, and he's working very closely alongside Thomas Tuchel. We know that Todd Boehly has been meeting owners throughout the Premier League. He's been speaking to super agents across Europe too. He's been jet setting across Europe, making himself known, building contacts, signing relationships, etc, etc. All the things that you need to do. And I kind of like this very hands-on approach he has. Instead of outsourcing it to people straight away, he wants to make sure that his presence and figure is known, which is the best thing in my personal opinion. But of course, now that Thomas Tuchel has a lot more say and power behind decisions, it does kind of like undermine maybe other people who had previous roles at the club, with Petr Cech naturally acting as a casualty of new structures. It's not like Petr had his own personal thoughts and opinions. For example, reports today have confirmed the fact that he doesn't necessarily feel like a big money move for Petr Cech is necessarily needed. We can't forget that he played a massive role alongside previous goalkeeping coach in Lollichon to help us sign Edouard Mendy, and really that signing came at the behest of Cech's involvement with Lampard trusting his former teammate, and for me it has been one of our most successful signings in the past few years. We got some more insight too behind how he would have dealt with things involving Romelu Lukaku. I'm not gonna project or say anything. I'm gonna read the statements exactly as they came from Petr Cech. As he said, I personally believe that he will have a great season, and I say this because Petr would have actually kept him for another season, which kind of supports what Marina Granovskaya would have done, and originally what Todd Boehly was open to. But of course, now that he's backing Thomas Tuchel, it means that he trusts his judgment and opinion. He respects the player, so he's going to allow Lukaku to leave, and that's the only reason why he's leaving. But as Petr did say about Lukaku, personally I believe that he will have a great season if he was to remain again. Last season we saw how strong he can be at the beginning when he came, but unfortunately the long-term injury sustained in the game against Aston Villa slowed everything down, and then he had COVID as well. I think we could see towards the end of the season, when he was fit and ready to go again, how strong he is. I have full confidence he will bounce back and have a strong season. And for me, I absolutely agree with this assessment, because if you were to break down every single game on an individual basis, you would see yourself that Lukaku started off well, was quite poor for large parts of the middle section, and came back again once he was a bit fitter and a bit more, ready with his body. So, I'm not going to sit here and do this thing of just like hating on Lukaku. I think it's too easy, and you guys know that I'm someone that will say what I want to say. You don't have to agree with me, but you have to respect that I'll give you my unfiltered, honest opinion. And for me, I would have given him another chance personally, but I'm all about logic. And naturally, if both Lukaku and Tuchel don't complement, I'd understand that they both expect different things from each other. Then for me, it's only common sense that Lukaku does get moved on. But it's quite interesting to know that, there was a lot of willingness to give our record signing another opportunity. So let's see what happens here. But of course, I have to say farewell to Petr, an absolute legend at this club, one of the best goalkeepers, if not like one of the greatest in our history. Won so many things with us, and it'll be interesting to see how we move on. So right now, it's time to discuss a massive report that dropped this afternoon, and that involves the latest updates on Raheem Sterling's transfer. Now, this story actually broke from Sky Sports today, and essentially we are in advanced talks with Man City now to get a move done for the player. Now, our first proposal was turned down. It was like 25 million plus add-ons, and the context behind that first offer was the fact that this was more of like an intermediary offer, and this came from the previous structure and management from Marina Granovskaya. So it means that now that she's out the picture, and now that Todd Boehly has a hands-on approach, the rules are completely different right now. And we have some very good news, you guys. Already, it has been confirmed that personal terms have been agreed upon. We don't know what these personal terms are just yet. If I was to take my own like subjective personal guess, maybe it's like around 300k, or maybe a bit more, or maybe it involves things like a better signing on bonus, or maybe better bonuses, clauses and image rights and part of that deal. But that is a good confirmation that this move will most definitely be happening. We already know that Thomas Tuchel held personal talks with Raheem Sterling to discuss how he sees the player for next season and how he wants to use him. And it has been confirmed as well too that it will be a combination of Raheem Sterling playing as a false nine, as well as playing down the flanks as well too, which are the same type of roles that Raheem Sterling was actually fulfilling at Man City, which makes quite a lot of sense, you guys. Now, we know that Man City already have sold Gabriel Jesus to Arsenal, and the club have hopes that they could potentially sign Raheem Sterling for less money than what Arsenal had to pay to sign Raheem Sterling. I mean, it's obvious now that it's been confirmed that Sterling and Pep Guardiola won't be working together. Guardiola is an advocate of the fact that if players aren't happy and want to leave, he's going to allow them to do that, because he wants guys that are mentally prepared for the fight they're going to always have throughout the season, which is only fair. And Raheem Sterling, in other articles, mentioned the fact that he wants guarantees over playing time, and he wants to get a very important contract offer to reflect the prime years he's now entering in his career. So it's quite obvious now that the things Tuchel said towards the player are things the player himself does like, and literally all that needs to be done right now is just finalizing an agreement with Man City, which will be coming very, very soon, you guys. So now we are waiting for the official figure for the opening offer we're about to make for Raheem Sterling. It'll be interesting to see what Todd Boehly does with this. I'd imagine that he's not going to waste time by starting really, really low and spending tons of weeks upping the offer slowly and slowly to save out on like a few million. This guy has a habit and a history of completing big money deals in American sports, so it's no surprise that he will translate this now he's taken over us. Sam Lee from The Athletic, a reporter, reported earlier as well too that this deal is done, but I guess if you look at things from a sentimental value, the only way this deal flops is if Raheem Sterling somehow wasn't to pass medical records, or something crazy was to come up in his medical. At this point in time, that is the only factual thing that could stop things from happening, but it's obvious now that Sterling is a player we will sign, and this move will get done very, very soon, you guys. Comment below, how do you feel about this? Is Raheem Sterling the one to take our attack to the next level? How do you want him to be used? And do you think Tuchel can get the very best out of the player? And of course, right now, we have to end things with a massive report surrounding the future of Matthijs de Ligt. Now, there's a lot of promise now currently surrounding this deal. And it's interesting because it comes inspired the fact that it does seem like our interest now for Jules Koundé has slowly become evaporated, as Koundé was more of a board recommendation in signing based on the previous board's personal scouting assessments of that player. I do find it quite interesting though that for like 18 months we kind of read many reports that Tuchel was more than open and happy to work with Jules Koundé. We know that Trevor Chalobah would have actually left on loan after that Super Cup final to make way for the player, as at the time we thought we got the deal done for around 42 million. But I guess the only thing I can really say behind this is that, you know, managers are never going to be like fully truthful in press conferences. It's not their job to do that. So whatever Tuchel really feels deep down is something that we'll never know, because he's not going to make that aware publicly in press conferences. You can only go off by actions. The fact that we've delayed anything behind this deal tells you that we have moved on to other defensive targets. And Jules Koundé just isn't in the picture at this point in time. But again, what if the flip switches again and something was to happen? But right now, it's looking unlikely. Ligt is the main guy Thomas Tuchel wants, and reports have confirmed this now. But I do feel like my hypothetical assessment of how Ligt could be used was correct, because reports confirm that Tuchel sees him as a player to play in the middle of a back three. Regardless, you guys, that's enough of me talking. You want to hear the facts about what's happening right now. And it does look like the official offer of Timo Werner plus £38 million has been rejected. However, Juventus originally were open to just receiving cash only for the deal, but they're okay now with having Timo Werner as part of this move. And to get this deal over the line, they want 55 million plus Timo Werner to release Matthijs de Ligt. Now, de Ligt wants to sign for us. He's very excited by that. He likes the project as well. And of course, we can meet his financial demands, which are, it's a lot, you guys. It's a lot of money to get this deal done over the lines. It costs a ton. But now it seems like by using Timo Werner as that exchange player, that's going to reduce the value at least. And that's going to allow us to remove a very high earning player off the wage bill at this club. At this point in time, we aren't far off from completing a move to sign de Ligt. So at this moment, the two most likely signings currently are Raheem Sterling and Matthijs de Ligt. I think it's interesting that Juventus now are open to a player exchange. I think the reality is that they've accepted that they can't sell him for the full release clause in his existing contract. That's around 120 million euros. It just doesn't make any sense. And not many clubs have the money to do that. So it's like, if you want to move on from a player that isn't committing to signing a new contract, which is the key thing, it only makes sense to sell him in this window. I find it interesting, you know, you guys, I have released videos before talking about how I feel he'll be used tactically and whether I think he is the, you know, correct use of funds. As I said before in this video, Petr Cech also felt like maybe there were other centre backs that could have been targeted, and to spend so much money on de Ligt is maybe something he wouldn't have necessarily decided to do. But this is all down to Thomas Tuchel, and the reality is every player we do sign is going to be at the wishes of Tuchel and what he wants. So it'll be very interesting to see how things play out. I'm keeping an open mind at this point in time because I want to just learn and understand what's happening. But you guys, that is the News Daily video out the way. Expect more videos to drop today as well. Things are heating up. No more worrying now about, oh, when are we going to sign players, when are we going to make moves, all this monitoring, contact, blah, blah, blah. It's getting boring. This is why you watch me, to get all the latest updates with the most up-to-date information and the most contextual sense as well. So my friends, you don't have too long to wait. And on that note, I'm Nini FC, this is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.